Without a question, people need support. People are, you know, everybody out there is struggling with addiction or mental health issues. They're just people. They're just got people like me, normal people that, you know, just have something physically, mentally wrong with them. You know what? It's no different than, you know, somebody having cancer or somebody having diabetes or somebody having asthma. They just have something wrong with this part of them. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of support for that. And there's not a lot of understanding about that.
He was the oldest and happy-go-lucky kid.
But I always kind of had this darkness about me.
Completely normal, just like kids are. He was lots of fun, full of energy.
I daydreamed a lot. I isolated a lot.
Socialized.
You know, I don't think my parents really knew at all what was happening with me, you know, and I definitely never talked to them. But one of my most vivid childhood memories is actually sitting in the haystack with the barrel of the gun in my mouth and thinking I should pull the trigger. I got in a lot of trouble as a teenager. I was pretty high functioning as well, so I was able to hide my mental health issues fairly well throughout my teenage years, even while I was in my addiction, which, you know, really prevented anybody from really seeing what was really going on. I went and worked on the rigs up in Whitecourt, and that's when I really got introduced to the drugs. Pretty much acceptable in the early 90s doing drugs on the rigs, and it was just, everybody did it. You know, things quickly got out of hand in Victoria as well. I ended up losing that job, lost a couple more, and then I got into collections, which is another perfect job for a drug addict and an alcoholic. They even let us do drugs at work, which was amazing. I started my own company, which was okay. Didn't make a lot of money though, so I started selling drugs to supplement my drug habit and my lifestyle. Things quickly got out of hand in Calgary, and I moved back to Victoria, and same old thing there. You know, it's just this big vicious cycle. So this went on for, you know, 15, 20 years. I ended up getting addicted to oxys and heroin. This would be about 7 years ago. I ended up living on the streets of Victoria, and my old business partner actually called my dad, and my dad came out to Victoria and picked me up. They had got me a bed at the Thorpe to detox.
You don't change the individual, but you can support them. I think it's essential to love them. Kind of get your way through it. We prayed a lot.
I guess I wasn't ready. I had a lot of anger issues. You know, I had a lot of resentment built up towards my life, towards my parents. I had a lot of suicidal thoughts still going on. You know, I really didn't know how to cope without drugs at all. You know, I've used drugs and alcohol to cope my whole life. And now all of a sudden, you know, they're gone. I ended up getting in a lot of trouble with the law. I would be in and out of remand, in and out of jail the next 3 or 4 years, 3 years, I guess. At one point, I had outstanding charges in 5 different cities in Alberta.
So we'd been through this cycle of be in jail, get me out, and then that's the hardest thing in the world, I think, for a mom to go see her kid in jail, to see your kid on the other side of that piece of glass. It was hard for the whole family to understand why their brother was doing this, and it was hard. You couldn't talk to your friends about it because they don't understand any of this. Nobody understands a drug addict.
So, and I'd go to jail. I'd go to remand, for a month or 2 or 3 or whatever, and get released on bail or whatever. Charges were dropped or time served. Never get any help while I was in there. I used quite a bit in jail.
He had to, I guess he got to Calgary, didn't he? But then he finally got to Medicine Hat again, and then he phoned again, and he said, "Mom, I can't go to jail in Calgary because there's more drugs in jail than there, and if I go back to jail, I'll just go back on drugs." And in the Medicine Hat, there was a counselor, and he felt he was being helped.
The 4 months I was in Medicine Hat, I did so much recovery work, so much addiction work. I wasn't using while I was in there. She really took me under her wing, and that really made all the difference. For the first time, I wasn't just going back to the same environment I had every other time. I struggled a bit at the start. I got support, mental health support, addiction support. I had a structured day. I was able to, start to think a little bit clearer. I already had 4 months of clean time at that point, so things were a lot clearer. That was really a turning point for me about halfway through treatment. I started dealing with some of the stuff, some of my traumas, stuff that I'd never talked about before. And it really, for the first time, I thought, holy cow, I actually might be able to do this. And magically, I got time served for charges that I should probably have gone to the pen for. I got like 8 months time served. And it was like, that was such a huge weight off my shoulders. I thought, I really have to take advantage of this. I've been given a second chance, and this is really something that I should focus on.
In spite of all this stuff that we talked about, Tyler, in our home, he was just, when he came home in these, in between these relapses and that, he was just my son. I mean, I had no trouble trusting him. I was glad he was there. And if there's anything, if a person needs refuge, hopefully you can offer your home.
Cool, well, that's good.
Somebody already told me that.
You're welcome. Isn't that work out just great, eh?
Okay.
In order for me to stay clean and sober, I had to make this recovery my life. And the only way to make it my life was to make it my profession. That's what I did. I tried to figure out what the heck am I going to do to make this my profession? What do I really want to do? And I looked at my own experience, and it's like, the only way I made it was with a sober living program outside of jail, after detox and before treatment. That's the only way I ever would have had a chance. Had I not done that, I would still be in active addiction today.
And so we need to know what it is.
Okay. Residence to Recovery is modeled a lot after my journey through recovery. if I didn't have the sober living after jail, I would have been back out in the same environment. And there really is a huge continuum of care gap between jail or detox and treatment. Sort of learn how to ask for help. No days off. Recovery doesn't take time off. Silence. 50% of those struggling with depression or anxiety have never sought help for their issues. Those are huge numbers.
Yeah, most of my life I never asked for help.
It's funny because, I have this, I've grown up with this belief that I wasn't supposed to get help for my mental health issues. That if I went and saw a psychiatrist, it could prevent me from getting jobs in the future. That's what I really did for years. The second somebody gives you any inkling that there's something going on, we need to reach out and support them in any and every way that we can, because it's the hardest thing for anybody to do is ask for help, and they need it. And that's how we're going to start breaking down the stigma, is when help is freely offered every time you turn around. Then, all of a sudden people aren't going to be afraid to ask for help because it's already being freely given. You don't need to have all the answers. All you have to do is start that conversation with somebody. The help is available in our community. And people just need to know that all they have to do is ask for it or be offered it. And, then we'll start helping people.